Good morning and welcome to the Renault Fluence ZE. This is an all-electric powered car, and this is Ireland's first real road test, and as far as I know it might even be the first real proper test on the internet of any of these cars, because Ireland is a forerunner when it comes to the electric powered vehicles. We have probably the highest trained staff in the world, at least in Europe, and we're probably a couple of steps ahead of most other European countries when it comes to the technology of this. What's it like to drive? Is it like a normal car? Yeah, it is. It's like a normal car that has a whopping great big turbo under the bonnet, because there's an enormous amount of torque off the line. From the minute you touch the accelerator, you get torque. Now, even though it is I think it's only 95 horsepower, translates into that, but it's that in kilowatts, but it translates into about 95 horsepower. But yet, there's an awful lot of torque when you put your foot down. Now, if you take a Fluence diesel, a standard one, subtract all the noise. You probably heard that tractor pass by, didn't you? See? If you subtract all the noise from a normal Fluence diesel, you've got this. That's really it. Everything else is the same. All the controls here are the same. I have a slightly different dash. I don't get a rev counter, I get a battery meter. And I get a little meter on that side that tells me whether I'm discharging the battery, or whether I'm charging the battery. And I get a little digital readout at the top that tells me lots of things about the car, but it tells me generally the most important one is range left. I also get a Sat-Nav, and the Sat-Nav has a few special features. A TomTom live Sat-Nav, which means I can look at traffic, decide what's happening on the road as that goes, but I also have a thing called ZE services, which allows me to go in here, and when it's connected up properly, it's not quite ready yet. There is ability in here to be able to search for all of the charge points in Ireland, all the charge points in the world, by availability, so whether someone is actually plugged into them or not. But also in here there's some cool little features, like reachable area is also in it as well. You can press the button and see how far your reach is from your current charge. So that system is hooked in directly to my battery levels. Now, putting along here, I'm doing 50 kilometers an hour in a 50 kilometer an hour zone. The car behaves just like a normal car, and people genuinely get a shock when they see it coming, because first of all, Renault ZE is written all over the outside of it, and it says 100% electric powered car written on the outside. But they also get a shock in that they didn't hear it coming. They look one way to see cars coming down the road towards them, and they hear them, and they look the other way and there's nothing. And then I appear from around the corner somewhere. Noise is a big factor with this, because it is virtually silent, especially at low speeds. Like when I decelerate onto this roundabout here, from now on, it's like stealth mode. There's no real noise out of it at all. But when you want it, people ask me this, when you want it, the power is on tap. Watch. That's just flooring it, and the torque just comes on straight away, and you're flying along. You get that woo from the background, which is the only noise that the engine actually makes. But predominantly, the big questions last night was financial sense. Does a car like this make any financial sense? And I'm going to deal with just my situation, which would suit anyone who has two cars in the house, because, well, I usually have more than two cars, but there is at least two cars to drive in the house. So my better half would do the kind of mileage, up to the shops, down to the schools, down to the play groups and things, all short little bursts, and they're not regular, so it's not every day she does these little short bursts. I'm overtaking a truck now, look, I'm on a back road, look at that, no problem, easy peasy. So she does the short little journeys that would make up a general week with the car. So a car like this would suit us as a second car. I'm a more high mileage person. I do a lot of work up Dublin direction. I do work, well, nearly all over the country, because I make videos for other people. So I could be anywhere given day to day. So a diesel car would suit me most. Although there are many journeys that I could use an electric car on that I wouldn't have to use the diesel version. And really what it does is give you choice. And so this car, not this model, but the electric range of Fluence cars starts at a little over 21 grand. Now, the reason it's so reasonably priced is because you lease the battery. Okay, so it's €21,500 plus a battery. The leasing of the battery is €82 a month. Now, that makes getting into the car a lot cheaper than, say, something like a Nissan Leaf. Because with a Leaf, you buy the car outright, battery included. But the cost of the Leaf is a lot more than the Fluence. Now, the Leaf also looks a lot different than the Fluence, and critically, the Fluence is a massive 4-door saloon. Now that means that, I mean, in here there's no restriction on cabin space in here from the normal Fluence. It's still the very same size. Inside it's just as big. This car is actually 6 inches longer than the actual Fluence, the normal Fluence. That's to accommodate the battery pack, obviously, the boot, and to still give you some kind of a boot. Boot space is restricted compared to the diesel Fluence. That's 100 kilometers an hour. I'll accelerate. It's 100 kilometers an hour I'm doing there. Not a bother. This drives like a normal car. It drives like an automatic. I just have this DNRP. That's it. That's all there is. And in actual fact, there isn't a gearbox. I suppose technically there's one gear. But there isn't a reverse gear and a forward gear. It's just one gear. It just changes the direction of the gear to go backwards. That's all it does. So there isn't really a gearbox. There isn't really an engine, even though what's under the bonnet looks a bit like an engine. It looks more like a kind of an aluminium washing machine that someone forgot to paint with some wires hanging out. The day I got the car, I drove from Sandyford to Port to bring it home. That's just under, or just about, 100 kilometers that I travelled that day. And when I got home, I had 30 kilometers left, and it's all on motorways, all of it. So it was a big, long motorway journey. Now I'm about to go out on a motorway now again, and I'm going to show you that this is capable. It's not a milk float, it is capable of speed. So we're coming down the hill now, accelerating up to speed. There's 100 kilometers an hour. That's 110, and there is 120 kilometers an hour. And I go into cruise mode, and crucially, I actually have cruise control on this, so I can turn on cruise control if I want to, and maintain that speed on the machine. So my meter at home is not a night meter. I don't get a special discount. I pay about 15 cents a unit for electricity. And it cost me on average about $2.50 to $2.75 to charge this from empty. That gives me another 120 odd kilometers range. So work that one out now, think about it for a second. 7 days a week, I'm going to charge that. It works out very cheap. But if you take away everything else, you strip it back to just being a car and forget all the financial crap, it's brilliant. It would suit me down to the ground to have one of these on my driveway every day. It would suit me to have a Zoe as well, which is due in this year into Ireland. And one recommendation I will make to Renault is I would rather be slammed in the face by deceleration. I'd rather get more, regenerative braking. As soon as I take my foot off the accelerator, I'd rather I was hitting the back of the head by the braking capacity of the car, because it gives me free electricity every time I do that. Here's a little tip. I'd like more of that. So yes, it is a resounding yes from me. Electric cars work. Electric cars are part of our future. They're not necessarily going to replace every car on the road, but they are certainly part of the future. Honestly, you will not understand what I'm talking about until you get behind the wheel of an electric car and feel it and see it and smell it and know it and do all that for yourself. Get out there, get to a Renault dealer, have a test drive, see what I'm talking about. I'm not messing with you. You will not regret it. Well done, Renault. Confidence is showing through. The car works.